Jeffrey Michelle is the co-founder and chairman of DivorceForce, an online community that empowers and provides resources to those affected by divorce. He is the president and CEO of Paradigm Capital, a leading private commercial real estate lending firm, and of Paradigm Properties, a real estate holding company. Jeffrey is also the founder and chairman of the Strategic Forum, an organization of business leaders dedicated to the exchange of ideas and development of business relationships and opportunities. He serves on the board of Signature Bank, as well as several other private company boards. Welcome, Jeffrey.
Thank you.
Well, I met Jeffrey when I was a guest speaker at the Strategic Forum, and he told me about Divorce Force, and I thought our listeners could really benefit from this because, this is a show about living regret free, and people that go through divorce have a lot of regrets very often. So that's why I thought it would be very helpful to you. And of course, it gives him a chance to explain exactly what it is. So, Jeff, welcome. And what inspired you to create Divorce Force?
Well, there are two components that are the answers to that question. The first one is that unfortunately I am one of those people that went through a really horrible divorce. And, for all those people that are currently going through it or have experienced it, I would argue it's probably one of the more horrible things that happened to you in life. It's right up there on the top of the list. And it's a place where you're alone and you're really scared and you're reliant on a system that euphemistically is flawed. And me personally, I'm the networking guy. I've also written books on networking. As you mentioned, I created the Strategic Forum, and my whole way of being is I always ask, don't ask what's in for me, how can I help you? So I'm always about trying to empower and help people. While I was going through my horrible divorce, and I was in really bad shape, I started realizing some very interesting things. I started meeting other people like me, and I started learning from people like me. And people that are on the ground living this, it's different than speaking to a real estate attorney. That evolved into me saying, well, you know what, I'm going to start doing live events and with panels. And it was an incredible experience because I sort of felt like I was handing out bottles of water in the desert. That's how people were reacting to this initiative. And for 2 years, I was doing live events and started to realize that no one ever built a community. No one ever went out there to try to put people together, to empower them, to help them go through this and put people together that have demographic relevance. So that's how it started.
Wow. So what are the objectives of Divorce Force now?
Well, there are quite a few. And, I want to emphasize the word community because there is none. It's disparate service providers around the country that try to address the needs of people that are going through this process, or people who've been post this process, or even people thinking about going to get divorced. So where we're going is we're looking to be the place that's safe for people to communicate, where they can talk about specific things that are very relevant to themselves, to empower them by introducing them to people that are demographically relevant to each other, and to be the source, to be the information source, to really make a tremendous difference, all about helping people. That's what this is about.
Well, now, you say, you've used the word a couple of times, horrible divorce. And I have to say I was very fortunate never to have been divorced. Unfortunately, I lost my husband 8 years ago. But I'm wondering, are there specific topics that users seem to be discussing on the forums more than anything else? I mean, there are people that go through divorce and it doesn't seem to be one way or the other. But since then, I don't want to get personal here, but since you've used the word horrible a couple of times, are there things that people have that are more common than others as topics?
Well, again, it is subjective. And so that since everybody's different, their needs and their issues can vary. One of the things that people really are very concerned about and spend a lot of time talking about is the effect on our children. In fact, we're going to start doing live events again shortly, and the first event is going to be, it's all about the kids. And unfortunately, they're in harm's way because if you're in the middle of this battle or process, the kids are scared. They don't know where they're going to wind up or how they're going to be affected. And so we find that a lot of people are talking about that. They're really trying to mitigate the impact of divorce or getting sound advice about the issues that their children have. And we actually curate our own articles and information based upon what people are saying. So, we get a heavy influx of people talking about their children, we're going to generate content that's very relevant to those people. Then there are a lot of people talking about the system. You're very reliant upon an attorney, and you're very reliant upon a judge's decisions or viewpoints, and you just don't know. So you're scared. A lot of the conversations gear around their experiences, and the knowledge that's imparted in those conversations can be extremely helpful. And there's a whole bunch of topics. I could go on for quite a while and talk about all of them, but if you go to the site, DivorceForce.com, you can see all the forum subject matters, and you can see what people are talking about.
So what kind of feedback have you gotten since you've launched this? And how long ago did you launch this?
Well, it really is at the beginning. We just launched right around Thanksgiving. It took us about 10 months to build the website and the app. There's an app in the App Store which can be downloaded on your iPhone. And it's all new. But the feedback is pretty incredible. Just in general, talking to people and saying, this is what we're doing. It said, this is so needed. This is incredible. This has never been done before. People that are going to the site are saying things and conversing, and they're coming back and saying, this is amazing what you've done. I mean, we were very conscientious in building a very user-friendly system that looks great, and we're getting a lot of feedback that's empowering us to even get better. Because, again, like everything, things start at the beginning, and so based upon what people are telling us, influencers, their ideas, their insights give us additional information to empower people. But the feedback has been unbelievable, and I'm very hopeful, and I believe that it's only getting better and better.
Well, that's fantastic. So what would you say are the biggest challenges that people are typically not aware of when they're going through a divorce? Because, divorce is such a prevalent thing in our society that you would think everybody would know everything they need to know. But, of course, I guess you're not thinking in that direction until it happens. So what are some of the challenges that people run into?
So you asked a question which is kind of really resounds, because I will come out and say something to you that may surprise you, but people know nothing. And I'm not trying to be a wise guy in saying that, but we are very blindsided by what happens when we go into this process. Now, that's not everybody, because sometimes people don't have contentious divorces and it's amicable and they can work through the situation without it getting heightened. But when it's complicated and there are things that are very emotional, you just don't know. You just don't know what happens. You just don't know how you're going to be influenced. An angry person is influenced by someone that advises them. All of a sudden, they're doing things to candidly exacerbate matters. You get in front of a judge. Judges have their own biases. You want to make a good impression in front of a judge. You don't realize that your emotions get out of control. The things that happen are so over the top that people are stunned. And this is one of the reasons why what we're about is empowering people with knowledge and putting them together, because you really know nothing and you're completely blindsided. And I will tell you unequivocally, I got hit by a Mack truck going through this process.
Wow, I would think, if there are children involved, that children are probably the most delicate issue, that you have to talk about. But what would you think are the most important pieces of advice to give someone going through a divorce? I mean, okay, so I'm considering divorce, not sure if this is something I should do. Want to have as good a relationship, but maybe I really can't stand him at this point. What do I do? What are some of your pieces of advice?
Well, I'm going to start off with a statement that has no relevance to advice, but I will come out and say that life is not a dress rehearsal, and we all know that. And the reality is being healthy and being happy is very important going forward in your life. I think that if you've made that decision and you're living a life that has no fulfillment and or other issues that you're just really unhappy in your marital status with somebody and you want to make a change, you need to really think about how to do it. I mean, my advice would be to be as open and trying to do something in the most amicable way without it turning into a battle or where you're literally looking to kill each other, and getting professionals involved that potentially make things worse. I mean, there are great professionals out there that really are very helpful, but if you can go through this without doing things that are irrational or driven by pure anger that only make things worse, that would be my greatest piece of advice if you can do it. And unfortunately, it doesn't necessarily always play out that way, but and things do get kind of out of control. But if you can do that, that would be a great thing. That's one thing.
I'm always amazed about people who, they're getting a divorce and they fight over who's going to get the dog. And, I think that's, of course, I'm a huge animal lover, so I shouldn't be saying that. But, I mean, I've heard some divorces that I just think, how did it get to be so confrontational when it's about a dog? But I'm sure you've seen a lot of things that I can't even imagine at this point.
Well, Gail, I'm sure we're having this discussion today, and I'm sure a lot of your listeners have a degree of consciousness of what goes on out there. But look at all the articles and all the stories that are in all the newspapers regarding divorce and the extreme crazy things that happen, including the fight over a pet. I think there was some celebrity that had a major battle about their pet relative to the divorce with their ex. There are TV shows now dedicated to divorce, separation, the divorce hotel. Divorce has become, at least from my purview, and obviously I'm in the middle of building what we're building, so sensationalized and so over the top, and some of the things that happen are just outright crazy. And again, it goes back to behavior and how you conduct yourself and what you can do. But emotions take over, and you lose objectivity, and that is really dangerous.
I would agree. I would definitely agree. Well, now we know that it's got a forum and you've got an app. What other features on the platform would help someone going through a divorce?
Well, I'll rewind a little here. You mentioned the strategic forum, and we're an organization about putting people together that empower each other and we help each other. The premium side, the goal of the business is to put people together that have true demographic relevance. And so we ask our members, that are premium members, to define themselves. What judge are you in front of? Who's your attorney? Where do you live? What's your income level? Are your children emancipated? In New York, that's 21 years of age. Florida, 18. Each state is different, where you have support issues. Are you an at-home mom? There are all these different things we ask our members for a very distinct purpose, and that is putting people together that are relevant to each other. So by example, 4 women in Nassau County that are at-home moms could potentially find each other and chat and talk because their interests and their issues are so relevant to each other that they can empower each other. I could go on and find another gentleman whose wife has the same attorney as mine, is in front of the same judge. Or I could find 5 people that are in front of the same judge and get a sense of what their reactions are to the judge and how the judge react to their specific issues. And that knowledge becomes incredibly powerful. So to the word networking, this takes it to a much higher level because the significance of the knowledge not only is empowering, enables you to get things off your chest, but will potentially save you tons of money because you'll make better decisions based upon experience. And wherever in the past it's always been lack of experience and being told what to do. That's just one component of where we're going.
Well, now you mentioned something about members. So, is this like a membership site? Do they pay a certain amount of money per month? And I would think if once the divorce is finalized, they may no longer be a candidate for the site, or how does that work?
Well, it's a freemium model, so it's free to be a member, free to download the app. There's loads of free aspects to the site, including going to forums and having conversations about the kids or about the system or about other topics that are on the forums that you can speak to anybody. There's also a shared calendar where parents can download the calendar to each other and schedule the dates, play dates, or whatever things the children are doing, and it's just between them and potentially the grandparents. That's all free. All the content, all the articles that we generate, all free. The premium side at this juncture is what I just described to you as putting people together that are demographically relevant. We're also going to build a system where we have it up, but we're going to rate the lawyers. But that's also something where it's a premium item. Another thing that we're going to wind up doing as we go down the road, because we're just at the beginning, we're going to have a job board to empower people to get back to work. I find that there are many people that haven't worked in a long time. They might have brought up their children, want to get back into the workforce. We want to help them. So there are a lot of components, but like everything starts in the beginning. And right now, we just launched, so we have a lot of the free content. We have the forums, we have the premium side up, but it's all evolving. And with each day, it's catching on, and more people are coming on.
You brought up a couple of things I want to ask you about, and one of them is grandparents. When people get divorced, sometimes the grandparents get divorced too, and I hear a lot about. Well, I know they're not married. I know there's been a big fight, but we still want to see our grandchildren. So, what kind of advice is there?
Well, that's a major issue. And if you take it one step further, even friends, like when a marital couple breaks up, you have shared friends, and who's